सर यहाँ पे सर सेंटर में सर यहाँ एक मिनट एक्सक्यूज सर सर यहाँ सर राइट साइड
For this evening on behalf of Talkative and our hosts, ITC Grand Central, for the launch of Saif Mahmood's brilliant book, Beloved Delhi, A Mughal City and Her Greatest Poets. I'd like to congratulate Saif for giving us a book that's both timely and of tremendous significance at this juncture, when traditional language, as we know it, is evolving, transforming, and actually giving way to an almost code-like, language, if you will. Anyone who's, forwarding messages on WhatsApp will know what I'm talking about, all the short forms, abbreviated versions of what we want to say. So this book is obviously of very special significance at this point. Now, we Mumbaikars, we always love to compete with Delhi-walas. But after reading this book, one had to concede defeat and admit that when it comes to Urdu and Urdu poetry, I think Delhi-walas are in a different league. I mean, they are steps ahead. Now, this book talks about some very delightful poets like Sauda, Zauq, Mir and Ghalib. And the book is particularly interesting because it weaves in a historical perspective, and it's written in English, which makes it far more accessible to a wider readership and a younger readership. It was just the perfect book for us at Talkative, a platform for films, pop culture and the arts to align with. My husband, Piyush Shah, and I, partners in crime as co-founders of Talkative, a platform that's dedicated to all things cultural, are very proud and excited to have this opportunity to introduce you to this book and the author, along with GM of ITC, Kaman Lal Kaka, and the wonderful team which has helped us put this evening together. This evening is also very special because of our chief guest, Mr. Naseeruddin Shah, who not only agreed to be a part of today's launch, but very generously agreed to read from it. This despite the fact that he was very busy with a play that he's doing, The Father, which by the way is a brilliant play, and you must go and watch it if you haven't already seen it. So thank you, sir, for your generosity. You truly are a champion of the performing arts, and we need many more like you. Thank you everyone for joining us. And now for the moment that we've all been waiting for with bated breath. I would like to request Mr. Shah to come on stage and read from the book.
Good evening. दिल्ली के शायरों की बात हो और मिर्जा गालिब का जिक्र ना आए ये तो नामुमकिन है। और आप सबके चेहरों से ऐसा लग रहा है कि आप मुंतज़िर हैं कि मैं आपको गालिब के बहुत सारे अशआर सुनाऊंगा। मैं आपकी इन उम्मीदों पे पानी फेरना नहीं चाहता, लेकिन अगर गालिब का कलाम सुनना ही है तो आप YouTube पर जा सकते हैं बड़ी आसानी से। मुझसे कहीं बेहतर कहने वाले ज़िया-उल-दीन साहब की आवाज़ में, फरीदा खानम साहिबा की आवाज़ में, बहुत सारे लोगों की आवाज़ में आप सुन सकते हैं। मैं कुछ इस बेहतरीन किताब के कुछ हिस्से पढ़ के सुनाना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि कुछ ऐसी बहुत सारी बातें हैं। एक तो मैं ये सबसे पहले बता दूँ कि मैं उर्दू का आलिम बिल्कुल नहीं हूँ और उर्दू शायरी का भी नहीं। मुझे मिर्जा गालिब समझा जाता है, इसमें मेरा कोई कसूर नहीं। और गालिब का कलाम वैसे ही हर एक जानता है। उनके मशहूर नज़मों या गज़लों पढ़ने का मेरे ख्याल से कोई फ़ायदा नहीं। मैंने सोचा कि मैं आपको इस किताब के कुछ ऐसे हिस्से पढ़ के सुनाऊँ जो ऐसे शोरा के बारे में जिनका मैंने नाम भी नहीं सुना था, और उनके बारे में जो कुछ बातें हैं, तो मैं सिर्फ मिर्ज़ा मोहम्मद रफ़ी सौदा के मज़मून से और बहादुर शाह ज़फ़र के मज़मून से कुछ आप लोगों को पढ़ के सुनाना चाहता हूँ। गालिब साहब की एक नज़म ज़रूर सुनाऊँगा जो यकीनन आपने कभी नहीं सुनी होगी, लेकिन उससे पहले सैफ साहब के इस बेहतरीन इंट्रोडक्शन पेश लफ्ज़ से मैं कुछ हिस्से पढ़ना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि दिल्ली की तवारीख़ और 18वीं 19वीं सदी में जो अदबी हालात थे वो क्या थे, उनके बारे में है। तो ये इंट्रोडक्शन है इस किताब का, जिसके कुछ हिस्से मैं आपको पढ़ सुनाऊंगा। Delhi's charms are unpredictable. The chaotic streets, the unruly traffic and polluted air, the aggressive inhabitants and their hurried life, tolerance for the obnoxious. All these constitute an integral part of this phenomenal city. In beauty resides horror and vice versa. Inextricably intertwined with Delhi's complicated present is her violent history. A history of invasions and assaults, even massacres. It has been lamented many times through the centuries, yet it lives. Each time it was razed to the ground, it came back to life with startling vivacity. Nothing dies in Delhi. The ghosts of its past lives roam the streets or bide their time in half-ruined buildings, and they rise up to speak in 1,000 voices that are still told about the city. Struggling to breathe under the angry modern facade of the megalopolis is another one, time-worn and easily missed, that teems with art, heritage and poetry. It is the Delhi of Mir and Ghalib, the Delhi of the fabled 7 cities, all of which have risen and fallen and risen again, or been changed beyond recognition over time. Delhi's indestructible spirit has haunted writers and poets for generations. Some of them have written out of love, others in awe, and yet others out of bewilderment. In the 18th century, Mir Taqi Mir said, "Dil o dilli dono agar hain kharab, par kuch lutf is ujle ghar mein bhi hai." In the middle of the 20th century, Percival Spear compared Delhi with Rome. There are many etymologies that have been offered for the name Delhi, but perhaps one of the most appealing is the philosopher Ramchandra Gandhi's suggestion that its name could derive from the words Delhi or Delhi, both meaning threshold, a permanent point of entry and departure, but forever resistant to any stamp of permanence. The city Delhi most resembles is Athens, with its monumental crumbling history strewn all around, its ramshackle, seething present. In this seething present, Delhi is bigger, more sprawling than it has ever been. Officially called the National Capital Territory of Delhi, it is the 3rd largest city of India in terms of size, covering an area of approximately 1,500 square kilometers, and the 2nd largest in terms of population, home to more than 25 million people. And in the heart of this megacity, in the northeast of its central district, lies Purani Delhi, Old Delhi, where the tale of its glory and ruin and haphazard regeneration is best perceived. It is this walled city of narrow, crowded and cacophonous alleys where it is impossible to walk a few paces or even stand still without touching literally at least 10 other people that this book is about. Or rather about a few great men of verse who internalized the spirit of this remarkable patch of earth so deeply that they were Delhi and Delhi was them. And together, Purani Delhi and its iconic poets tell a 300-year-old story. The story of one of the most evocative languages ever known to humankind, Urdu. It is generally believed that Urdu was born in the army camps of Delhi as a language that borrowed words from different languages so that soldiers from different parts could easily communicate with each other. Those who subscribe to this belief think that since in Turkish the word Urdu refers to an army camp and the language was a product of interaction between soldiers in army camps, it was called Urdu. Noted author and critic Shamsur Rahman Farooqi, however, dismisses this claim. What he writes is, Farooqi Sahab writes, the belief that Urdu originated in Muslim army camps and cantonment bazaars helped generate and sustain two myths. Urdu was the language of the Muslims, and being originally the language of camp and cantonment, it stood in natural need of being refined and gentrified. And the process was initiated by the master poets of Delhi in the second half of the 18th century. Small wonder then that the name Urdu, which didn't come into use for the language before the 1780s, is invariably invoked by our historians to prove that since Urdu means army, army camp, or the market of a camp, the Urdu language was born as a result of foreign Muslims and local Hindus interacting with each other for petty trade and commerce. None struggled to consider that the only foreign armies in India during and from the 1780s were British and some French. There were no Arabic or Persian or Turkish-speaking armies in India from the 1780s. And the language of Urdu had by then been in existence for several centuries. Thus, the name Urdu, which first came into use apparently in the 1780s, could not have been given to the language because of the putative army connection. A ghazal is a collection of many couplets, sher, of the same length and following the same meter. These couplets are thematically autonomous of each other. Sometimes, though, a few of them can be read together, indicating a single theme, and when this is done, the cluster of couplets is called qita or qata. Each line of a sher is called a misra, and the first sher of a ghazal is called the matla. In the matla, the two lines rhyme with each other, whereas throughout the rest of the ghazal, only the second lines of the sher rhyme with each other. The last couplet of the ghazal, in which the poet's takhallus pseudonym appears as a signature, is called the maqta. Now I'd like to read to you about Mirza Rafi Sauda. In my ignorance of Urdu literature or Urdu poetry, I always assumed that Urdu poets have no sense of humor. Ghalib, of course, is an honorable exception. So to discover about the existence of Mirza Rafi Sauda, whom Saif Sahab refers to as the great satirist, was a perfect, absolute delight. Sauda was born as Mirza Muhammad Rafi in Delhi in 1713 to Mirza Muhammad Shafi, an Afghan aristocrat who had migrated to India for trade. Sauda lived in Delhi's Kabuli Darwaza area, close to what is today known as Naya Bazar near Khadi Bauli, which was an upmarket neighborhood back then, inhabited by the city's elite and connoisseurs of art and culture. Those were the times when the domini or courtesan had a distinct place in society. Courtesans were not only trained in music and dance, but also well versed in poetry and would often receive influential guests for exclusive evening performances. The easiest route to reach the Qila-e-Mualla, the Red Fort, the seat of the Mughal Empire from Kabuli Darwaza, was through Chowdi Bazaar, then an avenue on which stood the elegant mansions of some of Delhi's best-known courtesans. Such was the splendor of this avenue that it inspired the poet Rasikh Azimabadi to compare it to the famed Mount Caucasus of West Asia. Chowdi Qaf hai या खुल्द बनी है रासिक जमगते हूरों की परियों के पिरे रहते हैं. Sauda originally wrote in Persian for many years. It was at the insistence of a great Persian poet and Urdu scholar of the time, Sirajuddin Ali Khan Arzu, known to history as Khan-e-Arzu, that he started writing in Urdu. Arzu was the author of two highly regarded Urdu dictionaries and ustad or teacher to many an aspiring poet, including Mirza Jane Jana and the young Mir Taqi Mir. Of Khane Arzu it has been said that his relationship with Urdu literature is equivalent to Aristotle's place in the tradition of philosophy. Unfortunately, none of his verses has been preserved. While Sauda's poetry had started becoming popular around 1745, when he was in his early 30s, his fame seems to have reached the Mughal court only after 2 decades or so. In these 2 decades, much had changed in Mughal Delhi. Rangila, the great patron of the arts, had died after ruling for 28 years, and after 3 of his successors came and went in quick succession, within 11 years, Shah Alam II ascended to the Mughal throne. In those days, rulers and aristocrats who were fond of poetry and wanted to improve their poetic skills would request established poets or scholars to mend their poems. Ghazal banana. Though this meant changing an occasional word to either enhance the musicality or quality of a verse or to correct its meter, it is widely believed that under the cloak of mending, many rich young princes and nobles would actually get their poetry ghost-written for a fee. It was a fantastic arrangement. While the broke poet, who could or would do nothing other than composing verse, would not mind infusion of additional income, his rich benefactor would earn poethood. Something like our screenplay writers of our film industry. In or around 1765, impressed by Sauda's literary prowess, Shah Alam II invited him to the Qila-e Mualla and sought his help with his poetic skills. Sauda was a no-nonsense man. Soon the emperor's royal demands began to irritate him. It is believed that one morning the emperor was insisting that Sauda write a particular ghazal for him, and Sauda was avoiding the recitation. The emperor finally asked him, "Mirza, how many ghazals do you manage to compose every day?" Sauda replied, "My lord, I managed to compose only 3 or 4 verses." To this the emperor condescendingly said, "My friend, I compose 3 or 4 whole ghazals while I'm in my bathroom every morning." "No wonder they smell so bad," said Sauda, and came away. There is a little bit of a selection of... Sauda was also a philosopher of sorts. With her unmatched grace and elegance, Zahra Nigah, the celebrated Urdu poet, and one of the greatest connoisseurs of the works of Sauda and Mir, recited a poem to me, in which Sauda beautifully explains how a youngster, anxious to gain quick success, visited a wise man and asked him for Nuskha-e-Kimia, the fabled formula for the elixir which infuses eternal life in humans and makes them conquer death. The wise man told the youngster that he would give him the formula, but the elixir would work only on one condition. When asked what that condition was, the wise man replied that the elixir maker should never let the danger of a monkey, bandar ka khatra, cross his mind. This condition, of course, can never be fulfilled. The moment the elixir maker is done with preparing the magical potion and is gleeful and relieved that he did not let the danger or fear of a monkey cross his mind all the while, the thought of that very danger actually enters his mind. And thus, the elixir is rendered ineffective. The point of this story is that if you cannot conquer your fear, no magic formula will follow. I put it off by mistake. Sorry about that. So I'll read you the poem, which is quite delightful. कहा जाए है एक महव्वस का हाल कि रखता था नित कीमिया का ख्याल, ये सब करके दिल के बीच अपने कयास गया वो एक मर्द कामिल के पास, रहा उसकी खिदमत में वो चंद साल, किया मौका पाके आखिर सवाल कि अगर नुस्खे कीमिया याद हो तो बंदे को भी अपने इरशाद हो। कहा अगर यही था तेरा मुद्दा तो देता हूं तुझको तू जा और ला ये अज्जा है इसके, ये लेकर बना मगर इसमें एक शर्त है दरमिया, ये नुस्खा तू जिस वक्त लेकर बनाए कभू दिल में बंदर का खतरा न लाए। कहा अब तो ये बात मुमकिन नहीं जो खतरा हो दिल में वो जाए नहीं, न समझा गरज उसके रंज व नुकात के पर्दे में थी मर्द आरिफ की बात कि अगर दिल को खतरे के काबू किया यो फिर है नुस्खे की लिया। And now I'd like to read to you a selection from the chapter on Bahadur Shah Zafar. It begins with this extremely moving description by William Dalrymple from his book The Last Novel. At 4 p.m. on a hazy, humid winter's afternoon in Rangoon in November 1862, soon after the end of the monsoon, a shrouded corpse was escorted by a small group of British soldiers to an anonymous grave at the back of a walled prison enclosure. The bier of the state prisoner, as the deceased was referred to, was accompanied by two of his sons and an elderly bearded mullah. The ceremony was brief. The British authorities had made sure not only that the grave was already dug, but that quantities of lime were on hand to guarantee the rapid decay of both bier and body. When the shortened funeral prayers had been recited, no lamentations or panegyrics were allowed. The earth was thrown in over the lime and the turf carefully replaced, so that within a month or so, no mark would remain to indicate the place of burial. This funeral, described so memorably by Dalrymple, is not of a notorious criminal or common prisoner, but that of the last Mughal emperor of India, Mirza Abu Zafar Sirajuddin Muhammad Bahadur Shah, an accomplished music composer, a revered Sufi, a distinguished theologian, a great connoisseur of art and poetry, and a poet himself known to the world as Bahadur Shah Zafar. For more than 200 years, Zafar's Timurid ancestors had ruled the larger chunk of South Asia with a splendid and ostentatious display of wealth and authority, frequently translated into matchless architectural wonders and peerless artistic marvels.